The park was quieter than usual that afternoon. The kind of soft quiet that settles in when the sun hangs low and the day feels nearly finished. Leaves rustled gently along the walking path, and a few distant voices drifted from the playground. Officer Daniel Harris sat on a wooden bench near the fountain, his uniform loosened after a long shift, one hand resting on the leash looped around his wrist. Beside him Rex, his police dog partner, sat perfectly still, ears alert but posture calm, watching the world with steady patience. Daniel exhaled slowly, letting the weight of the day ease from his shoulders. This was their routine. A short stop at the park before heading home. Nothing more. Nothing unusual. Then Rex stiffened. It was subtle at first, just a slight tilt of the head, a low whine barely audible over the breeze. Daniel glanced down, instinctively tightening his grip on the leash. "Easy, buddy," he murmured, assuming a squirrel or passing cyclist had caught Rex's attention. But Rex didn't move. He sat firmly at Daniel's feet, eyes locked on the far end of the path, body tense as a drawn wire. When Daniel tried to stand, Rex blocked him, pressing his weight forward, planting himself between Daniel and the path ahead. His tail trembled. A soft, urgent whimper escaped his throat. A ripple of unease crept into Daniel's chest. Rex had done this before, on duty moments before danger revealed itself. But this was just a park. Just another evening. Still Rex refused to budge. Daniel followed his gaze, and that's when he noticed a small figure stepping out from behind the trees. But what the dog sensed was far from ordinary. Before we continue, remember to like, share and subscribe for more heart-touching dog stories. And tell me, where are you watching from? The park always felt different near the end of the day. Not quieter exactly, just softer. The sunlight slanted low through the trees, turning the gravel path pale gold. A faint breeze carried the smell of cut grass and warm pavement. Somewhere near the playground, a swing creaked in slow rhythm, its chain squeaking each time it moved. Officer Daniel Harris sat on a wooden bench near the fountain, shoulders finally relaxed. His uniform jacket lay folded beside him. The radio at his hip was silent. For the first time all day, there was nothing demanding his attention. Beside him sat Rex. The German Shepherd's posture was flawless without trying to be. Back straight, front paws aligned, tail resting loosely on the ground. His ears stood tall, tracking distant sounds with quiet precision. Daniel glanced down at him and smiled. "You earned this break," he said softly. Rex didn't look at him. He never did when he was working, even off the clock. Daniel leaned back, resting his elbows on the bench. The wood was still warm from the sun. He closed his eyes for a moment and listened. Footsteps in the distance. Water splashing gently in the fountain. Birds settling into the trees above. It was their routine. After late shifts, Daniel often stopped here before heading home. 10 minutes. Sometimes 15. Just enough time to let the job fade from his body. Rex liked the park. Not because it was relaxing. Because it was honest. People moved naturally here. Kids ran without fear. Couples argued softly, then laughed. Elderly men fed ducks with deliberate care. Rex observed it all calm, alert, absorbing. Daniel opened his eyes and watched a jogger pass, headphones in, breath steady. A mother called out to her son near the sandbox. Somewhere behind him a bicycle bell chimed. Normal. Quiet. Safe. He reached down and scratched the thick fur behind Rex's neck. The dog's ears flicked once, acknowledging the touch, but his gaze never left the path ahead. "You're still on duty, huh?" Daniel murmured. Rex's tail gave a single slow thump. Daniel smiled again. That's when Rex froze. It wasn't dramatic. No barking. No sudden movement. Just stillness. The dog's ears shifted forward, angling sharply toward the far end of the park. His head tilted slightly, nostrils flaring as he inhaled. Daniel felt it before he understood it. A subtle tightening in his chest. He looked down at Rex. "What is it?" Rex didn't respond. His posture had changed, muscles engaged, weight subtly forward, as if ready to rise but choosing not to. A soft sound escaped his throat. Not a growl. Not a bark. A low, uncertain whine. Daniel straightened. He followed Rex's line of sight. The path curved gently behind a line of trees. Nothing stood out at first. Just shadows and sunlit patches of grass. A trash can. A wooden sign listing park rules. Probably a cat, Daniel said, more to himself than to Rex. He shifted forward on the bench, preparing to stand. Rex moved instantly. He stepped sideways, placing his body directly in front of Daniel's knees. Firm. Deliberate. Blocking him. Daniel blinked. Hey! He stopped himself. Rex had never done that without reason. Rex, Daniel said gently, reaching for the leash. It's okay. The dog didn't move. His tail trembled slightly now, just at the tip. His ears remained locked forward. His breathing had changed, slower, deeper. Listening. Daniel's pulse picked up. This wasn't alert behavior from training drills. This was instinct. He rested his hand on Rex's shoulder. The muscles beneath his palm were taut, vibrating with contained energy. What do you hear? Daniel whispered. Rex's head dipped a fraction, eyes narrowing. Another sound drifted through the park. Faint. Uneven. Not laughter. Not footsteps. Something softer, irregular. Daniel frowned and stood anyway, moving slowly. Rex shifted with him, staying between Daniel and the path, pressing back gently but insistently. Easy, Daniel said, though his voice lacked its earlier calm. He scanned the area again. That's when he saw movement. A small shape emerged from behind the trees. Not running. Not playing. Just stepping forward cautiously, as if unsure whether to be seen. Daniel's breath caught. A child. Young. Maybe 7 or 8. Slight frame. Oversized hoodie hanging off narrow shoulders. One shoe untied, the lace trailing against the dirt. The child stopped at the edge of the path, looked around, and hesitated. Rex let out a quiet whimper, higher now, tinged with urgency. Daniel felt the air shift. This wasn't a coincidence. He took a careful step forward, slowly, cautiously, keeping his hands visible. The child flinched at the movement, eyes wide, body stiff. It's okay, Daniel said gently. You're not in trouble. The child didn't answer. Didn't run. Just stood there, breathing shallow, eyes darting between Daniel and Rex. Rex sat down. Perfectly still. His posture softened just enough to signal safety, not threat. His ears relaxed a fraction. His tail rested against the ground again. Daniel swallowed. Rex had made a decision. Whatever was happening here, whatever had drawn his attention, it mattered. And it wasn't over. Not yet. Daniel took another slow step forward. And in that moment, standing between the fading sunlight and the quiet child, he realized something was very wrong. But he didn't yet understand why. And neither did the child. Not fully. Not yet. Rex noticed before anything changed on the surface. That was always how it happened. Before voices shifted. Before footsteps hurried. Before fear had a shape. Daniel stayed where he was, hands relaxed at his sides, eyes on the child. He kept his posture open, non-threatening, the way he'd learned years ago in training rooms and real-world moments that mattered far more. The child didn't move. Didn't speak. Just stood there, caught between the trees and the path, as if the park itself had paused to watch. Rex's attention never wavered. His ears rotated slightly now, tracking more than one direction. His nose lifted, sampling the air in short, controlled breaths. Daniel knew that rhythm well. Rex wasn't reacting to what he could see. He was reading what lingered. Scent. Sound. Absence. The dog shifted his weight again, just enough to reposition himself closer to Daniel's leg. Protective but not aggressive. Anchored. Daniel lowered his voice. Hey buddy, what do you have? Rex didn't look at him. His gaze stayed fixed on the child. Not locked, not intense, but focused with a steady calm that felt intentional. The child's chest rose and fell quickly. Daniel noticed the details now. Dirt smudged along the knees of the jeans. A faint tear at the cuff. hair uncombed sticking out beneath the hood. One sleeve pulled halfway over a small hand, fingers clenched inside the fabric. Lost. That was Daniel's first thought. But Rex's posture suggested more than that. The dog's tail lay low still. His ears softened slightly, no longer sharp with alert but angled with concern. His head dipped, chin lowering a fraction, a canine signal meant to reduce pressure. Daniel felt something settle uneasily in his stomach. Rex was adjusting himself for the child. Daniel crouched slowly, knees bending one at a time. "It's okay," he said again, softer now. "You're safe." The child's eyes flicked to Rex, and stayed there. Something changed then. Not relief. Recognition. Rex noticed it immediately. His breathing eased. His shoulders dropped just a touch. He inched forward, careful not to close the distance too fast, and then stopped on his own, waiting. The child swallowed. Daniel watched the dog more than the child now. Rex's ears tilted outward. His eyes softened. His tail gave a barely visible sweep against the ground, slow, restrained. This wasn't training behavior. This was empathy. Daniel had seen it before. Rarely. Moments when Rex sensed fear that wasn't loud or explosive, but quiet and contained. The kind that hid behind stillness. The park sounds drifted back in. A laugh near the swings. A dog barking far away. Wind brushing through the leaves. But here, in this small pocket of space, everything felt hushed. Rex took one more step forward. The child flinched. Rex stopped instantly. Saturday. Waited. Good boy. Daniel exhaled slowly, careful not to rush the moment. "You can take your time," he said. "We're not going anywhere." The child's gaze moved back to Daniel now, hesitant, searching his face. Is he gonna bite me?" The voice was barely above a whisper. Daniel shook his head gently. "No. He won't. He's here to help." Rex lowered his head slightly, resting his chin closer to the ground, another signal of calm. The child watched him closely. Rex stayed still. Seconds passed. Long ones. Daniel noticed something else then. The smell. It was faint but familiar. Hospital disinfectant. Clean, sterile, out of place in a park. Rex's nose twitched again, confirming it. Daniel's brow furrowed. Rex shifted his gaze briefly, scanning the path behind the child now. Not alarmed. Just checking. As if counting. Daniel followed that look. Empty path. No adults approaching. No frantic voices calling a name. The child stood alone. Rex let out another quiet sound. Not a whine this time, but a breathy huff through his nose. Concern. Questioning. Daniel's heart tightened. "How long have you been here?" he asked gently. The child shrugged, shoulders hunching inside the oversized hoodie. I don't know." Rex glanced back at Daniel just for a moment. A check-in. Daniel nodded slightly. He trusted Rex more than his own assumptions. Rex rose slowly, then turned and walked a few steps toward the bench, not away but sideways, inviting, not pulling. He stopped, looked back. The child hesitated, then took one small step forward. Rex sat again, waited. Daniel felt the shift. The dog wasn't guarding. He was guiding. Instinct layered over training, softened by something deeper, care. Daniel stayed crouched, heart steady but alert. Whatever had brought this child here, whatever Rex had sensed before anyone else could, it wasn't finished yet. Not even close. Rex knew that. And now so did Daniel. They just didn't know why. Yet, Daniel had learned over years on the job not to jump to conclusions. Most situations unraveled slowly, quietly, with patience. So he told himself to slow down now. The child was standing closer, only a few steps away, but still far enough to feel uncertain. Rex remained seated between them, body angled slightly toward the child, not blocking, just present. Daniel rose carefully from his crouch. The bench creaked softly behind him. The child flinched again. Daniel froze mid-motion. "Sorry," he said quickly, lowering himself back down. "I didn't mean to scare you." Rex noticed everything. The tension in Daniel's shoulders. The hesitation in the child's breathing. The way the park sounds faded in and out as focus narrowed. The dog's ears flicked back briefly. Not fear, not submission, but awareness. He shifted closer to Daniel's knee, grounding himself there. Daniel took a breath. In his mind he began sorting possibilities. A child who wandered off. A missed pickup. A moment of confusion that would resolve once the right adult appeared. That was the simplest explanation, and usually the right one. He looked around again, scanning the open spaces of the park. Families still moved along the paths. A couple strolled past with coffee cups. No one seemed frantic. No one was searching. That didn't mean they wouldn't be. Daniel told himself Rex was reacting to the unfamiliar. A nervous child. An unusual scent. Residual stress carried in small shoulders. Dogs picked up on that. It didn't always mean danger. You here with someone? Daniel asked gently. The child nodded. A quick movement. Then paused. Yeah, the child said. The answer came too fast. Daniel noticed that. And where are they? He asked, keeping his tone light. The child shrugged again. Around. Rex's ears angled forward sharply. Just for a second. Daniel missed it. He was watching the child's face. The way the jaw tightened. The eyes flicked sideways as if searching for a safe answer. Daniel tried again. What's your name? There was a hesitation this time. Then quietly. Evan. Daniel smiled. That's a good name. I'm Daniel. And this is Rex. Rex's tail gave one slow sweep. Evan's gaze dropped to the dog. He's really big. He is, Daniel agreed. But he's very gentle. Rex shifted his weight, settling more comfortably, making himself smaller without moving closer. Daniel read that cue correctly. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a folded tissue, offering it in his open palm. You look like you might have had a long day. Evan hesitated, then took it. His fingers were cold. Daniel noticed that too. What brings you to the park today? Daniel asked. Evan's shoulders lifted, then fell. I was just waiting. For who? Evan didn't answer. Rex inhaled sharply. Daniel still didn't look at him. He told himself not to overreact. Kids sometimes struggled to explain things. They needed time. Pressure closed them off. Daniel glanced at his watch. 10 minutes had passed. Still no one approaching. Still no raised voices. Still no urgency from anyone else. Rex shifted again, standing this time. Not abruptly. Just decisively. He moved 2 steps forward, positioning himself slightly in front of Evan, then turned his head back toward Daniel, eyes steady. Daniel frowned. Rex, he said quietly. Sit. Rex didn't. That caught Daniel's attention. Rex rarely disobeyed. Daniel felt a flicker of irritation, not at the dog but at himself. He hated moments like this. Moments when instinct and protocol rubbed against each other. Buddy, he said again, firmer now. Rex stayed standing. His tail hung low still. His ears were forward. His body language wasn't alarmed, but it was resolved. Daniel exhaled through his nose. You're telling me something, he murmured. Rex's head turned slightly toward the tree line behind Evan. Daniel followed his gaze. Nothing had changed. Still quiet. Still ordinary. Daniel shook his head slightly. Maybe Rex was sensing anxiety. Maybe Evan reminded him of a past search. Dogs remembered patterns. Sense. Emotional imprints. That didn't always mean present danger. Daniel didn't want to escalate unnecessarily. He stood again, slowly this time, keeping his hands visible. I'm going to check around, he said calmly. Just to see if anyone's looking for you. Evan's face tightened. No, he said quickly. The word came out sharp. Too sharp. Daniel paused. Evan's breathing picked up. His fingers twisted in the tissue. They'll come back, he added softer now. They said they would. Rex stepped closer to Evan. Not blocking. Not looming. Just close enough to be felt. Daniel's chest tightened. Who said that? Daniel asked. Evan didn't answer. Rex let out a low, breathy sound. Not a whine, not a bark. Just air pushed through his nose, questioning. Daniel rubbed his temples briefly. He was misreading something. He could feel it. But he didn't yet know what. The park still looked peaceful. The sky was still warm with late light. Nothing external demanded urgency. And yet, Rex hadn't relaxed. Not once. Daniel looked down at his partner. "What am I missing?" he asked quietly. Rex didn't respond. He didn't need to. His body said enough. Daniel just hadn't fully listened yet. Not yet. And somewhere deep inside he knew that whatever he was assuming, whatever he hoped was true, wasn't lining up with what Rex already understood. Time began to stretch in uncomfortable ways. Minutes passed, but nothing resolved. The park kept moving around them unaware. A man tossed a tennis ball for his dog farther down the path. A couple sat on a blanket near the trees, heads bent together in quiet conversation. Life continued, ordinary and unbothered. But the space around Daniel, Rex, and Evan felt sealed off. Rex had not sat back down. He stood beside Evan now, close enough that his shoulder almost brushed the child's arm. Not touching, just present. His posture was calm but firm, like an anchor set into the ground. Daniel noticed the way Rex occasionally shifted his weight. Left paw forward, then back, then still again. Micro-adjustments. Monitoring. Listening. Daniel crouched once more, lowering himself to Evan's level. The gravel pressed into his knee through the fabric of his pants. "You're not in trouble," Daniel said quietly. "I just want to make sure you're okay." Evan nodded, but his eyes stayed fixed on the ground. Rex's ears flicked at the sound of distant sirens, far away, unrelated, and then settled again. He wasn't distracted. He was focused inward now, attention narrowed to the child's breathing, his posture, the way his hands kept clenching and unclenching the tissue. Daniel tried again. "You said someone told you they'd come back." Evan swallowed. "Yeah." "Who?" Silence. Rex leaned forward slightly. Daniel held up a hand, not to stop Rex but to slow the moment. "It's all right," he said. "You don't have to tell me everything at once." Evan's shoulders hunched further into the hoodie. The fabric smelled faintly of laundry soap, and underneath it something else. Clean, sharp. Hospital clean. Daniel noticed it clearly now. He glanced at Rex. The dog's nose twitched in confirmation. Rex took a step away from Evan, just one, then circled behind him slowly, deliberately. He wasn't circling to corner. He was checking. Rex paused near Evan's back, sniffed the air, then froze. Daniel's stomach tightened. Rex's tail stopped moving completely. His ears stood tall, angled not toward the park, but toward Evan himself. Daniel's heart beat a little faster. Rex stepped forward again, gently positioning himself so Evan stood between Rex and Daniel. A subtle shift, but meaningful. Protective. Daniel straightened slightly. "Rex." The dog didn't react. That alone was enough to send a quiet alarm through Daniel's body. Rex wasn't ignoring him. He was prioritizing. Daniel chose his next words carefully. "Evan," he said softly, "are you hurt anywhere?" Evan shook his head quickly. Too quickly. "No." Rex lowered his head toward Evan's legs, nose hovering near the knees without touching. He inhaled slowly. Evan stiffened. Daniel noticed a slight tremor run through the child's frame. Rex sat abruptly. Not relaxed. Alert. He looked up at Daniel, eyes steady, unwavering. That look wasn't curiosity. It was certainty. Daniel felt his assumptions unravel. Lost child? Maybe. But not just that. "You don't look hurt," Daniel said gently. "But you look tired." Evan nodded. Rex's ears flicked back. Tired wasn't the right word. Daniel's thoughts shifted. "How long since you've eaten?" he asked. Evan shrugged again. "I don't know." Rex let out a low, uneasy whine. Daniel placed a hand on Rex's back, feeling the tension under his palm. "Okay," he murmured. "Okay." He stood this time fully and scanned the park again, more carefully now. His eyes lingered on faces, on movements, on what was missing. Still no searching adult. Still no urgency. Still no one looking at Evan like they recognized him. The sun dipped lower, shadows stretching longer across the path. Rex stood again, pressing his body slightly closer to Evan's side. Daniel noticed Evan's hand drift unconsciously toward Rex's fur. Hover. Then rest. Rex didn't move. Daniel's chest tightened at the sight. Evan, he said softly, do you know where you are right now? Evan hesitated, then nodded. The park. Do you know how you got here? Another pause. Longer this time. Evan's jaw tightened. His fingers curled into Rex's fur, just a little. I was told to wait. Rex's ears snapped forward. Daniel felt a chill run through him. Told by who? He asked. Evan's voice dropped. The nurse. The word landed heavily. Daniel kept his face calm, but something inside him shifted. What nurse? He asked. Evan shrugged weakly. The one with the blue shoes. Rex stood abruptly. Not aggressive. Urgent. He turned toward the path, then back to Evan, then toward Daniel again, pacing 2 short steps before stopping. That was new. Rex rarely paced unless something was wrong. Daniel raised his radio slightly, then hesitated. He didn't want to spook Evan. Did the nurse say where she was going? Daniel asked. Evan shook his head. She said she'd be back soon. How long ago? Evan thought hard. Before it got quiet. Daniel glanced around. The park wasn't quiet. Not really. But the day was changing. Rex sat again, closer now, his leg pressed against Evan's shin, anchoring him. Daniel made a decision. Evan, he said gently, we're going to stay together for a bit, okay? Evan looked up, fear flickering in his eyes. I didn't do anything wrong. I know, Daniel said immediately. You didn't. Rex leaned slightly into Evan. The child relaxed just a fraction. Daniel reached for his radio. Not yet calling it in. Just holding it. He finally understood what he'd been misreading. This wasn't a child waiting to be found. This was a child left behind. And Rex had known it almost from the start. The tension in the air thickened. Not with panic, but with the quiet weight of realization. Something had gone wrong. And it was bigger than a missed pickup. Much bigger. Rex knew it. And now finally Daniel did too. Daniel didn't rush. He'd learned long ago that moments like this broke open slowly, or not at all. He lowered his radio again, letting it rest against his hip. The weight of it felt heavier now, charged with decisions that couldn't be undone once spoken. Rex remained pressed lightly against Evan's leg. Steady. Warm. Unmoving. The sun slipped behind the tree line, the light cooling from gold to pale blue. The fountain behind them sounded louder now, each splash echoing in the growing quiet. Daniel crouched again, careful to keep his movements smooth. Evan, he said softly, can you tell me where you were before the park? Evan's fingers tightened in Rex's fur. The dog didn't react, didn't flinch. He simply stayed. The big building, Evan said after a long pause, with the white doors. Daniel nodded slowly. A hospital? Evan hesitated, then nodded too. Rex's ears tilted forward. Daniel felt the last of his doubt dissolve. Were you there with someone? Daniel asked. Yes. Who? Evan swallowed. His voice came out thin. My mom. The word carried weight. Daniel kept his face calm, but something in his chest shifted painfully. And where is your mom now? He asked gently. Evan's eyes dropped to the ground. Rex lowered his head, bringing his nose level with Evan's knee. He didn't touch. Just breathed. She's sleeping, Evan said. Daniel didn't interrupt. Didn't correct. He waited. Evan took a shaky breath. They said she had to stay, and that I should wait with the nurse. Rex's tail stilled completely. Daniel felt the pieces align. Did the nurse bring you here? He asked. Evan nodded. She said the park would be nicer. That it was just for a little while. Daniel closed his eyes for half a second. Hospitals didn't send children to parks to wait alone. Not ever. Rex stood. Not suddenly. Purposefully. He stepped away from Evan for the first time since sitting down, then turned and looked directly at Daniel, holding his gaze. That look again. Not concern. Not curiosity. Knowing. Daniel opened his eyes and met it. Okay, he whispered. Rex returned to Evan's side immediately, sitting close enough that their shoulders touched. Evan leaned into him without realizing it. Daniel felt a quiet ache spread through his chest. How long were you at the hospital? He asked. Evan shrugged. A long time. I slept in the chair. Daniel pictured it instantly. Hard plastic seat. Fluorescent lights. Machines humming softly through the night. And today? Daniel prompted. They told me to wait again, Evan said. But then it got busy. And the nurse said she'd be right back. Daniel's jaw tightened. And she wasn't. Evan shook his head. I waited, he said quickly. I didn't move. I did what she said. I know, Daniel said. You did exactly right. Rex nudged Evan's hand gently with his nose. Just once. Evan exhaled, the sound shuddering. I think she forgot, Evan whispered. The words landed quietly and broke something open. Daniel felt his throat tighten. No, he said gently. She didn't forget. Evan looked up, eyes wide. She didn't. Daniel chose his words carefully. I think something went wrong, he said. And you were caught in the middle of it. Rex's ears flicked at the distant sound of a siren again. Closer this time, though still unrelated. Daniel reached out slowly and placed his hand on Rex's back. Rex knew, he murmured. He knew you needed help. Evan looked at the dog. He did. Rex shifted, tail giving one slow sweep. Daniel nodded. He noticed before anyone else. Evan was quiet for a long moment. Then, is my mom okay? The question was small, careful, fragile. Daniel felt the weight of it press down on him. I don't know yet, he said honestly. But we're going to find out. Together. Rex leaned in closer. Evan rested his forehead briefly against the dog's neck. Daniel finally raised his radio. This time he pressed the button. Dispatch, he said calmly. I need to report a found child. Possible hospital separation. I'm at Riverside Park near the fountain. A pause. Then a voice crackled back. Daniel listened. Rex didn't move. Evan stayed close. The park no longer felt like a place of chance. Felt like a crossroads. Because this wasn't just about a child who appeared out of nowhere. It was about a system that failed quietly. A moment that slipped through the cracks. And a dog who noticed when no one else did. Daniel looked down at Rex again. Good boy, he whispered. Rex's ears softened. He had done exactly what he was meant to do. And because of that, everything was about to change. The response came faster than Daniel expected. Not sirens. Not chaos. Just calm voices moving with purpose. Unit en route, dispatch said. Stay with the child. Copy, Daniel replied. He lowered the radio and let his hand fall back to his side. Rex stayed exactly where he was. Close to Evan. Steady. Grounded. The park lights flickered on one by one, soft halos spreading across the paths. Evening settled in, cooler now. The air smelled faintly of water and damp leaves. Daniel removed his jacket from the bench and held it out slowly. Here, he said. You look cold. Evan hesitated, then accepted it. He slipped his arms into the oversized sleeves, the fabric swallowing his hands. Rex watched carefully, head tilted slightly, tracking every movement. You okay? Daniel asked. Evan nodded, but his eyes looked glassy. Rex leaned forward and rested his head gently against Evan's thigh. Just the weight of it. Nothing more. Evan's shoulders loosened. Daniel sat back down on the bench, keeping his body angled toward them. He didn't crowd. Didn't hover. He waited. That was part of rescue too. Moments passed quietly. Rex's breathing slowed, deep and even. Evans began to match it without him realizing. The fountain continued its steady rhythm. Daniel glanced at his watch. 5 minutes. Then he heard footsteps approaching, measured, purposeful. 2 officers appeared at the edge of the path. 1 female, 1 male. Plain expressions. Calm eyes. They slowed when they saw Rex. Daniel stood slowly and raised a hand. "I've got him," he said. They nodded and stopped a few steps away. "Hey there," the female officer said gently, crouching to Evan's level. "My name's Officer Lopez." Evan looked at Rex first, then at Daniel. Daniel nodded once. "It's okay." Evan shifted slightly but didn't step away from Rex. Officer Lopez noticed immediately. "That's a good dog," she said softly. Rex flicked an ear but stayed put. Daniel filled them in quietly. "Hospital. Nurse. Left alone." Officer Lopez's expression tightened, just a fraction. "We'll get someone from Child Services here," she said. "And I'll call the hospital myself." Daniel nodded. Evan's fingers tightened again in Rex's fur. Rex stayed. Officer Lopez spoke again carefully. "Evan, we're going to help you find your mom. Okay?" Evan nodded, eyes fixed on the ground. "What if she's mad?" he asked. The question caught everyone still. Daniel crouched again. "She won't be," he said immediately. "She'd be proud of you for waiting." Rex nudged Evan's knee. Agreement. A few minutes later, a social worker arrived, quiet voice, soft eyes. She introduced herself slowly, keeping her distance. Evan listened but didn't move. Rex noticed. The dog shifted closer again, pressing his side into Evan's leg. Daniel felt his chest tighten. "He's not ready," Daniel said quietly. The social worker nodded. "That's okay." They waited. Sirens echoed faintly in the distance. Ambulances, city noise, life moving on. Then a call came through on Officer Lopez's phone. She stepped aside to answer. Daniel watched her face as she listened, brows furrowing, jaw tightening, then softening. She ended the call and returned. "We found the mother," she said gently. "She's at the hospital. She had a medical emergency earlier today. She's stable now." Evan looked up. "Stable?" he asked. "It means she's okay," Daniel said softly. "She's being taken care of." Evan's breath shuddered out. Rex leaned closer. Officer Lopez smiled faintly. "She's been asking about you." That did it. Evan's composure cracked. He didn't cry loudly, just leaned forward into Rex's neck, face buried in thick fur. Rex didn't move, didn't shift. He absorbed it. Daniel looked away briefly, giving the moment space. When Evan finally pulled back, his cheeks were wet, eyes red but clearer. "I was scared," he whispered. "I know," Daniel said. "You don't have to be now." The social worker knelt again. "We're going to take you to see her." Evan nodded slowly. He stood then stopped, looked down at Rex. "Does he have to go?" Daniel felt a lump rise in his throat. Rex looked up at Evan, ears relaxed, eyes calm. "No," Daniel said quietly. "He doesn't." Rex rose and stepped forward, standing tall beside Evan. Ready. Because this rescue wasn't about lights or uniforms. It wasn't about authority or procedure. It was about presence. About a dog who stayed. About a child who was finally seen. And about a moment where fear loosened its grip. Just enough to let hope back in. The hospital felt different at night. Quieter but heavier. The hallways glowed under soft fluorescent lights, the floors polished to a dull shine. Somewhere down the corridor, a monitor beeped in a steady rhythm. A cart rolled past, wheels humming gently against tile. Evan walked between Daniel and the social worker, Rex padding silently at his side. Every few steps, Evan glanced down. Every time, Rex was there. Unwavering. They stopped outside a room near the end of the hall. A simple door. A small window. Officer Lopez rested a hand on Evan's shoulder. "She's right in here." Evan nodded but didn't move. Daniel crouched beside him. "You're safe," he said softly. "Take your time." Rex sat close enough that Evan's knee brushed his shoulder. Evan reached out, gripping the fur at Rex's neck. Not tightly, just enough to ground himself. Then he stepped forward. The door opened quietly. The room smelled faintly of antiseptic and clean sheets. The lights were dimmed, casting soft shadows along the walls. Machines hummed gently near the bed. Evan's mother lay propped against white pillows. Her face was pale, eyes tired but open, and searching. "Evan," she whispered. The sound of his name broke something open in the room. "Mama," Evan said. He crossed the space in 3 quick steps and climbed carefully onto the edge of the bed. She wrapped one arm around him slowly, carefully, pulling him close. "I'm here," she murmured. "I'm so sorry." Evan buried his face against her shoulder. Rex stopped just inside the doorway. He didn't enter the room fully. Didn't intrude. He sat alert but calm, watching. Daniel noticed the way Rex's posture finally softened. Shoulders dropping, ears relaxing, tail resting loose against the floor. The tension he'd carried all evening eased. Evan's mother looked up then and noticed Rex. Her eyes widened slightly. "That dog," she said quietly. "He was there." Daniel nodded. "He found Evan." Rex lifted his head at the sound of his name spoken indirectly, attention without demand. "He stayed with him," Daniel added. "The whole time." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Thank you." Rex remained still. No tail wag. No movement. Just presence. After a few minutes, Evan pulled back slightly. "I waited like they said," he told her. "I didn't move." "I know," she said, brushing his hair back gently. "You did everything right." The doctor arrived soon after, calm, apologetic, explaining what had gone wrong. A miscommunication. A nurse pulled away unexpectedly. A system that assumed someone else was watching. Too many small failures. Daniel listened quietly from the doorway. Rex lay down, chin resting on his paws. The answers came slowly, carefully, but they came. Evan's mother would recover. She needed time. Monitoring. Rest. Arrangements were made. Paperwork signed. Voices softened. The world began to feel stable again. Eventually, Evan slipped off the bed and walked back toward Daniel. He knelt in front of Rex. "Thank you," he said seriously. Rex lifted his head. Their eyes met. Rex leaned forward and pressed his nose gently against Evan's chest. Once, Evan smiled. Daniel felt warmth spread through him. Later, as they prepared to leave, Evan's mother reached for Daniel's hand. "I don't know what would have happened if you weren't there." Daniel shook his head. "It wasn't me." He looked down at Rex. He noticed. Rex's ears flicked. Outside, the night air felt cooler, cleaner. The hospital doors slid shut behind them. Daniel clipped the leash back into place. Rex walked beside him, steps even, calm. For the first time since the park, fully at ease. The questions had answers now. The fear had a place to rest. And healing, real quiet healing, had begun. Not loudly. Not all at once. But enough. Enough to breathe again. Enough to move forward. Together. The park looked different the next morning. The same benches. The same winding path. The same trees stretching upward into pale light. But the air felt lighter. Daniel stood near the fountain again. Coffee cooling in his hand. Rex sitting at his side. The city was just beginning to wake up. Joggers passed quietly. Birds hopped along the grass, unbothered by footsteps. Rex watched everything. But he wasn't searching now. He was simply present. Daniel thought about how close the moment had come to slipping away. How easily Evan could have remained unseen. How quietly fear could have settled in, unnoticed, unanswered. Rex shifted slightly, leaning his weight against Daniel's leg. Daniel rested his hand on the dog's head. "Good morning, partner," he murmured. Rex's tail gave a slow, easy sweep. A voice interrupted the quiet. "Officer." Daniel turned. Evan stood a few steps away, holding his mother's hand. She looked tired but stronger. More real. Like someone stepping back into her own life. Evan smiled first. Rex noticed instantly. His ears lifted. His posture straightened, not alert, excited. Evan released his mother's hand and walked closer. "Hi," he said. Rex stood, tail wagging gently now, restrained but unmistakable. Daniel smiled. "Hey, buddy." Evan knelt and hugged Rex around the neck. Rex leaned into it, careful and still, accepting the affection with quiet dignity. His mother watched, eyes shining. "He hasn't stopped talking about Rex," she said softly. Rex pulled back slightly and sat, as if on cue. Evan laughed. Daniel felt something settle deep inside his chest. "He did exactly what he was trained to do," Daniel said. "And more," she replied. They stood together for a moment, the fountain humming behind them. Evan's mother knelt beside her son. "We wanted to say thank you properly." She reached into her bag and pulled out a small envelope. Daniel shook his head gently. "You don't need to. It's just a note," she said. He accepted it. Inside was a simple card. 3 words written carefully. "He stayed." Daniel swallowed. Rex sat calmly, unaware of the weight of the moment, or maybe fully aware in his own way. Evan looked up at Daniel. "Will you and Rex come back to the park?" Daniel smiled. "We're here a lot." Evan nodded, satisfied. They said their goodbyes slowly. When they finally walked away, Rex watched until they disappeared around the bend. Then he sat, content. Daniel looked down at him. "You knew," he said quietly. "Didn't you?" Rex glanced up, ears relaxed. A single soft huff escaped his nose. Daniel laughed under his breath. Some bonds didn't need words. They didn't need explanations. They lived in instinct, in presence, in moments when one being noticed, and another needed to be seen. Daniel clipped the leash and began walking toward home. Rex walked beside him, step steady, calm. The park faded behind them, but the bond remained, unchanged, unbreakable, because some connections weren't forged in chaos or heroics, but in stillness, in patience, in a dog who sat by a bench and refused to move.